I knew something was off the moment I got the meeting cancellation email sent by my intern. Not Kyle, not HR, not even a half-hearted Outlook autoresponder. Just a passive-aggressive line from Aiden, the 24-year-old who once asked me what a shared drive was. That was the moment, the flicker before the wildfire. My name was removed from the Q4 audit prep chain, my calendar suddenly empty, and my Slack mentions replaced with chirping silence. For the first time in 12 years, no one asked where the new compliance checklist was. That checklist didn't just write itself. It was a Frankenstein of legal patches, audit flags, and security rituals only a masochist like me could love. But now, apparently, Frankenstein was too legacy for Kyle's grand vision. Kyle, God help us, a finance bro with a perfectly ironed shirt and a mouth that constantly chewed invisible gum. He strutted around like he'd personally invented quarterly reporting. Said things like synergy and streamline in meetings that never needed either. The man once asked if a VPN was a vitamin thing. And now he was in charge of cleaning house before the Q4 audit, the same audit tied to our $300 million insurance renewal and about 42 contracts with our biggest clients. You know, nothing major. But here's the thing about working in compliance. If we do our job well, nobody notices. If we screw up, we're crucified. For over a decade, I kept this company clean, patching systems after data breaches, building the audit vault from scratch when IT said too complex, and embedding so many layered redundancies that even I sometimes forgot what the hell I'd buried where. I was the digital locksmith with the only damn key. And that key wasn't just a password, it was biometric. Physical, literal, you can't streamline your way around that. Now they were treating me like a fax machine. Too old, too in the way. Legacy inefficiency, Kyle called it in a team huddle that he conveniently forgot to invite me to. I heard it from Marcus. Junior IT, bright kid, quiet, pays attention. He said your kind of institutional memory, Marcus told me over coffee. I nearly choked. Institutional memory? Like I was a forgotten attic box with old manuals and floppy disks. That's when I knew. They weren't just pushing me to the side. They were gearing up to erase me. And still, I showed up every day, answered questions that shouldn't have been mine to solve, patched holes no one else saw, and watched my inbox go colder than Kyle's soul. The worst part wasn't the erasure. It was knowing how deeply screwed they'd be without me, and how blissfully unaware they were of it. By the way, if you're still listening and haven't tapped that little subscribe button or dropped a like, now's a good time. Seriously, it takes you half a second, and it tells us this kind of story hits home. Keeps the whole crew motivated to keep digging up these wild corporate tales, you know. Anyway, I sat in my office one morning, watching Kyle through the glass as he high-fived someone over a spreadsheet. My name was gone from the budget, just like that. No farewell email. No thanks for 12 years of keeping our asses lawsuit-free. Just a slow deletion. First from meetings, then from systems, then from memory. But they forgot one thing, the digital vault. The one holding every audit record, compliance certificate, and third-party inspection report from the last decade. The one I built myself after the great data breach of 2017 when the CISO nearly cried in front of the board. That vault didn't just open with a password. It required a token, my token. And the system knew my fingerprint, my encrypted key file, and the specific sequence of time-locked approvals I'd buried like digital landmines. And as I watched Kyle slurp his green juice and brag about how lean Q4 would be, I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I knew something he didn't. That lean was about to go very hungry. Kyle didn't even stand when I walked into his office, just swiveled in his chair like a man about to order lunch. There was no "Hey Diane, thanks for 12 years of unmitigated disaster prevention," no handshake, no fake smile, just a plastic expression and a stack of papers he didn't even pretend to read. He gestured to the chair across from him like I was a door-to-door coupon rep. "Hey, so look, we're making some strategic pivots ahead of Q4, he said, already holding a pen like he expected me to sign something. And your role doesn't align with the new compliance model. We're, streamlining, that word again, streamlining, to become Kyle's go-to euphemism for gutting anything he didn't understand. Streamlining meant cut the people who have been here long enough to know where the bodies are buried. Streamlining meant make it look like innovation while actually lighting the server room on fire. I didn't flinch, just tilted my head and blinked like I was trying to understand a foreign language, which, frankly, wasn't far off. He continued, fidgeting slightly now. HR will, walk you through the transition package. We're calling it a soft offboarding. He smiled like he'd coined the term himself. We really want to make this gentle. Gentle, I repeated, more to myself than to him. He nodded too quickly. You're not needed for Q4, but we deeply appreciate all you've done. Truly. There it was, the line. I stood without touching the chair. I looked at the man-child VP who had just severed a 12-year artery from the compliance team with all the ceremony of deleting a spreadsheet row. He didn't ask about the vault. He didn't ask about my transition notes. He didn't even know what I did, not really. I could have told him I ran the back end using a network of raccoons and lawn gnomes, and he would have nodded. So I smiled, nodded back. Understood, I said. Same way you'd say it to a barista who forgets your order. Then I walked out. HR was already waiting outside like a vulture that had RSVP'd to a funeral. Some chipper girl named Brittany with acrylic nails and a laminated checklist. We're so sad to see you go, Diane, truly. Let's grab your things, yeah? She chirped like we were going purse shopping. I followed her through the hallway, eyes averted, a few awkward sorry glances. One guy mouthed WTF and ducked into the printer room like I was radioactive. The air smelled like overcooked coffee and guilt. When we reached my office, my former office, I saw they'd already boxed some of my things, like I was a guest overstaying checkout. A sad little goodbye card sat on my desk, signed by 3 people, none of whom spelled my name right. There was even a slice of store-bought cake on a napkin with the word luck in blue frosting. I tossed it in the trash. As Brittany flitted about, asking if I needed a moving bin, I calmly opened my drawer. Inside, tucked behind a dusty compliance manual and my backup mouse, was the small black lanyard I never let out of my sight. Hanging from it, my encrypted USB token. This wasn't some Best Buy flash drive. It was a custom-made access token with a rotating authentication handshake tied to my biometric profile. No one else could use it. No one else even knew what it really did. I unclipped it from the lanyard, slipped it into my blazer pocket, and zipped the pocket shut. You all good? Brittany asked brightly, holding a tiny box like it contained healing crystals instead of 12 years of corporate defense mechanisms. All good, I replied. We walked down the hallway in silence. HR's version of a perp walk, minus the handcuffs but with all the humiliation. Kyle didn't look up from his desk when I passed his office again. Too busy streamlining, I suppose. I exited the building without a single backward glance. No grand farewell, no speech, no tears, but inside that zip pocket, that little token held more leverage than Kyle could ever dream of. And the best part, he didn't even know it existed. The first night I didn't sleep, not because I was crying or spiraling. No, I sat in the kitchen with the lights off, sipping lukewarm wine from a mug that said world's okayest employee. The silence was loud, the kind that hums in your bones and rattles around the spaces left behind by shock. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing, but something in me had shifted. I could feel it, like the slow stretch of a fault line under cracked earth. The rage came later. Quiet rage, controlled, like fire behind glass. Not the kind that screams and punches walls. The kind that plans. The kind that remembers everything. I got calls. Friends from the office. One from Janet in finance, whispering like Kyle had bugged her phone, "You gonna sue?" Because I'd testify, Diane, I would. What they did, it's garbage. I thanked her. I meant it. But no, I wasn't going to sue. I wasn't going to write a dramatic LinkedIn post or blast off emails with subject lines like my story. Because when you've worked in compliance as long as I have, you learn one thing real fast. Paper trails are powerful, but silence? Silence can kill, so I powered up my home terminal. The one only I used. No one at the company even knew it existed. That's the beauty of working in the trenches. You build your own backdoors. Not to exploit, not to spy, but to protect. From amateurs, from arrogance, from Kyle. I logged into the system like I had 1,000 times before. Only this time, I wasn't patching bugs or compiling reports. I was removing myself from everything. One by one, I revoked tokens. Not the obvious stuff, the VPN, the Slack channels, the email aliases, that would have left a footprint. I'm not stupid. No, I slipped out the side door. I disconnected silent scripts I'd embedded in the Vault subdirectory. I rerouted pings. I disabled emergency fallbacks. Then came the flag. Buried 6 layers deep under a legacy compliance protocol I'd coded back in 2018 was a single flag. One Boolean switch, marked in a naming convention only I understood. Harmless looking. Invisible to anyone who didn't know it existed. I flipped it. Just like that, the audit vault went into what I used to call guardian mode. It didn't lock everything down, no drama, but it added a single authentication requirement to access the core reports. Biometric confirmation from my token. Not my password, not my badge, me. My fingerprint, my token, my timing. Kyle wouldn't find it. Even IT wouldn't unless they dug through 10 years of version histories and understood the logic trees I built like spiderwebs. And even then, without my key file, good luck. I sat back in my chair. The room was still dark. My wine mug was empty. My laptop screen glowed like a smug little nightlight. No alarms, no flags in their system, just silence. I turned off notifications. Killed all alerts, logged out. Then I stood up, poured myself a glass of real wine this time, and opened the back door. The night air hit my face like a reset button. Cold, honest. People think revenge looks like a grenade. They expect noise, smoke, screaming. But the best revenge, it's a vacuum. Missing key, a quiet no. A door that doesn't open because the person who used to hold it walked away and took the only copy. It was the kind of message you don't expect on a Saturday night, especially not while you're elbows deep in a half-baked lasagna and a true crime rerun where the husband is always the killer. My phone buzzed, and I nearly ignored it, probably another pity text from a well-meaning coworker or one of those spammed sorry to hear about your transition. DMs from recruiters who didn't even know what I did, but this one caught my eye. Marcus H., IT analyst at Omnicore Logistics. Subject, quick question. I paused. Marcus, the quiet one. Always wore the same 2 cardigans. Brought lunch in Tupperware labeled with masking tape like someone raised by Depression-era grandparents. Bright kid, underpaid, overlooked. Which is probably why he noticed the things no one else did. I opened the message. Hey Diane? Weird question. They're trying to open something in the audit system and it's asking for your credentials, like specifically your token. Just thought I'd ask before Kyle's head explodes. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, smirking at the image. Kyle, sweaty and confused, poking at a keyboard like it personally insulted him. I typed back slowly. Not my department anymore. Hope they're prepared. 3 dots popped up instantly. Marcus was typing like his life depended on it. Yeah, I figured. But he's seriously losing it, said something about manual override. IT told him we couldn't bypass the vault because of that? 2017 hardening protocol, the one you implemented after the breach? He tried a root key and everything. Just got an error. I stared at the screen. Of course he did. Kyle thought root access was a magic spell. What he didn't realize was that the system's root was only the first gate, and I'd buried a dozen more behind it. Like Russian dolls, each one more specific, more paranoid, more me. I waited a minute before replying. I trust they're consulting the documentation. Another fast reply. There is no documentation, at least not for this. I think you kept it off the main repo. Of course I did. The documentation was real. It existed. It was printed on paper, stored in a sealed envelope in my filing cabinet. At home, labeled in my handwriting, open in case of extreme stupidity. I didn't tell Marcus that. He didn't need to know yet. Sorry, Marcus, my access was revoked. Nothing I can do. I added a little smiley face to soften the blow. Old school passive-aggressive professional energy. The kind they taught us back when email was formal and getting fired meant a meeting, not a link to an HR portal. Didn't write back right away. Maybe he was afraid Kyle would appear behind him like a cartoon villain, breathing down his neck with a smoothie in hand. I put my phone down and returned to my lasagna, but something about the whole exchange lingered. Marcus had reached out, not because he expected help, but because he trusted me. Knew, deep down, that the vault wasn't broken. It was working exactly as intended. Kyle was just the wrong man with the wrong key, trying to force open a door he didn't even know how to knock on. An hour later, another message arrived. No context. Just a quote copied from Kyle, apparently screamed across the IT bullpen. Who the hell put her in charge of the system? I laughed, out loud. Nearly dropped my wine glass. Who put me in charge? The board, Kyle. The board put me in charge 7 years ago, after you were still interning at some consulting firm pretending to be Goldman Sachs. They gave me the keys. And I didn't just take them, I built new locks, welded the hinges shut, and installed motion sensors you'll never even detect. And now, you locked yourself out of your own kingdom, because you thought the queen was just part of the wallpaper. By Monday morning, the office was vibrating with the kind of desperate energy usually reserved for fire drills or CFO indictments. Something was clearly wrong, laptops flying open, people actually reading emails for once. Someone even spilled their turmeric latte in the hallway and didn't stop to clean it up. A real crisis. Not a pretend deadline crisis, but the kind that smells like job loss and bad decisions. The third-party auditors were scheduled to arrive in exactly 36 hours, suits from a firm that billed $900 an hour to point at spreadsheets and nod gravely. These were not the kind of people you impressed with donuts and LinkedIn quotes. These were the people who asked for traceability logs going back 5 years and expected to have them in hand before they finished their first overpriced espresso. Kyle, naturally, was convinced this was just a permissions issue. Can't we just reset the password? He barked, according to Marcus, who at this point was sneak texting me updates like a war correspondent embedded behind enemy lines. Just reroute through admin access. Come on, it's a vault folder, not the Pentagon. Except it may as well have been the Pentagon. Because when they tried to access the core compliance vault, the encrypted archive that stored every single policy cert, audit trail, and security patch since 2013, they hit the wall I built. And it didn't blink. First layer, digital key file, hashed and split across 2 rotating authorization windows. Second layer, biometric trigger, my fingerprint, paired with a time-sensitive token handshake that expired every 72 hours. Third layer, a logic gate that required both to sync. No override, no forgot password link, no call IT for help. Just a polite little message that said, vault integrity confirmed. Primary authentication required. That was the system's way of saying, you're not getting in unless Diane says so. Kyle refused to accept it. He stormed into the IT war room, which was really just conference room C with the blinds closed and 3 too many pizza boxes. I heard from Marcus that Kyle actually pounded the table with his fist like he thought it would make the code submit. What do you mean there's no backup? This is a billion-dollar company? It's not about backups. Someone explained to him gently, probably wishing they'd used up their PTO. The backups are there. We just can't read them without the decryption key, which is tied to her biometric profile and her token. That's how the system was hardened. Kyle blinked like they were speaking French. Who hardens a system that much? He growled. I believe Diane did, after the 2017 incident. The 2017 incident, the Great Breach. Year someone clicked a phishing link from an email titled Urgent. Your Petco rewards are expiring and nearly exposed the payroll database to a ransomware bot. After that disaster, I'd been given full authority to rebuild the compliance archive. No red tape, no budget limits. The CTO at the time, God rest his prematurely retired soul, had told me to make it Fort Knox but without the gold. So I did. Problem for Kyle was that he wasn't around back then. He didn't know about the protocols. He didn't know I'd taken that directive very literally. And he sure as hell didn't know that my departure had quietly tripped the Vault's legacy flag, the one that required active biometric verification during audit prep season. A flag I'd buried so deep, even the CTO forgot it existed. Now he was standing in a room full of stunned IT analysts, each one more nervous than the last, while the clock ticked toward a $300 million insurance renewal that depended on passing this audit with flying colors. No big deal, he muttered through gritted teeth. We'll just contact her. She'll give us the file. She has to, right? No one answered. Kyle looked around like the room owed him something. Entitlement dripping off his overpriced watch. Right? He repeated. Still no answer, because everyone was thinking the same thing. You pushed her out, you dismissed her. You erased her from the company like she was a line item that didn't matter. And now Diane was gone. And so was the key. Kyle always fancied himself a closer. The kind of guy who watched too many Aaron Sorkin shows and thought speed talking through problems counted as leadership. So when the auditors arrived, 3 gray suits with 0 patience and clipboards full of red ink. Kyle did what Kyle does best. He lied with confidence and hoped no one noticed he was drowning. We've had a minor delay with the archive sync. He told them over conference room coffee so bad it should have come with a hazard label. We're transitioning systems. Compliance has been undergoing optimization. Our reports are clean, just waiting on one. Minor credential reconciliation. Totally under control. The lead auditor, a woman named Joyce with eyes that could fossilize a man at 10 paces, didn't even blink. We requested those files 7 days ago. The documentation tied to your risk coverage clause explicitly states access must be demonstrated within 24 hours of request. You're currently in violation. Kyle gave a little chuckle, his nervous tick when caught pants down. Oh, we're not in violation, we just haven't surfaced them yet. Joyce scribbled something, then set down her pen like it weighed 100 pounds. Then show us anything. Partial logs, verification hashes, a staff credential chain, even a screenshot of last year's cert alignment. You've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Kyle tried stalling with PowerPoint slides. One was literally just the word trust in bold Arial over a photo of a mountain. Joyce closed her laptop. I'll file a preliminary non-compliance notice unless documentation is produced by 6 p.m. That's when the real panic began. Legal started sniffing around, led by Carter from Risk, an ex-litigator turned internal watchdog with a face that had never smiled. Where's the access trail? He demanded. Who approved the system transfer? Where's the chain of custody for the compliance archive? Kyle squirmed. It was. Inherited. Diane handled it. She didn't leave documentation. Then why the hell did you fire her before the audit? Carter snapped. It was a reorg, Kyle muttered, losing steam. She wasn't collaborative. Her methods were outdated. I mean, she built this thing like a Cold War bunker, which we now can't get into, Carter interrupted. It didn't take long for the stink to rise to the boardroom. The chairperson's assistant sent a terse message. The compliance audit is under scrutiny. Provide clarity on access failure. Do not wait for weekly update. Suddenly, everyone remembered my name. That's when Kyle panicked and did what cowards always do, blame the person who's no longer in the room. She sabotaged the system, he told Risk. This was intentional. She designed it to fail without her. He floated the idea in an emergency all-hands, hoping the lie would land before the truth had time to load. Diane acted maliciously, he said. We've uncovered evidence of deliberate encryption misconfiguration. But he hadn't, because there was no evidence, because I didn't sabotage anything. I just built the system exactly the way I was asked to, resilient, airtight, paranoid as hell. They gave me full autonomy after the breach, and I used it. Now they wanted to pretend that doing my job too well was the real crime. Marcus, meanwhile, kept his head down, said nothing in meetings, wore his cardigan, ate his tuna salad. But that afternoon, he forwarded me a series of screenshots. Internal Slack messages, meeting transcripts. One from Kyle Reed, spin this, make her look like a disgruntled ex-employee, say she withheld credentials out of spite. Another was from legal, no proof of sabotage. Vault design was approved by former CTO. Access structure matches documented specs. Blaming her won't hold up if it escalates. And finally, Marcus thought you'd want to see what they're saying. Just, wow, I stared at those messages for a long time. I didn't feel angry, I felt ready. They wanted a villain. They were about to find out what happens when you try to make the locksmith the thief. 12 hours, that's how much time stood between Omnicore logistics and a fiscal implosion. The kind of chain reaction collapse that doesn't just ruin reputations, it guts partnerships, triggers clawback clauses, and sets fire to every bonus projection from here to next Christmas. The insurance carrier, Gravestone Mutual, a name that sounded like it already knew what was coming, had sent a formal request for compliance documentation, including complete access logs, third-party verifications, and full system integrity reports. All of it had to be submitted before 9 a.m. Eastern, no extensions, no grace period. Buried in the fine print, in language Kyle never bothered to read, was a stipulation. Non-delivery of complete audit trail results in suspension of coverage. That meant every single contract reliant on insured logistics, pharma, federal subcontractors, air freight would be immediately void until coverage was reinstated. And reinstating coverage, that took weeks. The board knew, legal knew, risk knew. Kyle was finally starting to understand. The conference rooms were lit up like triage tents. People pacing, arguing, trying to locate long-retired compliance officers who had nothing to do with the current system. Marcus told me they even tried to plug in an old hard drive, labeled Backup 2019, that made a noise like it was coughing up its own lungs and promptly died. Someone actually asked, "Can we just build a new compliance vault from scratch by morning?" Marcus told me the room went silent for a full 10 seconds before someone replied, "Dead serious, define scratch." At around 8:20 p.m., my phone buzzed, unknown number, voicemail. I watched it blink. Let it ring out, then curious I tapped play. Kyle's voice spilled into the room, breathless and tinny like a man talking from the bottom of a manhole he'd just fallen into. "Hey Diane, listen, this is Kyle. Hope you're well. Look, we're just doing a last-minute pass on some of the Q4 prep stuff and we hit a little snag with one of the archive systems. Just wondering if you had a sec to maybe chat about access?" A pause, totally chill, just hoping to reconnect. No pressure. Just give me a ring if you can. Appreciate it. The message ended with a beep so pathetic I half expected it to apologize too. I sat there in my living room, lights low, fireplace flickering even though it was barely cold out. Just ambience. My laptop was on the coffee table, the terminal screen black, silent. I didn't move, didn't reply, didn't feel anything. Because this wasn't about bitterness. This wasn't even about revenge anymore. This was about clarity. About showing the difference between a paper leader and the person who quietly kept the machine from burning to the ground. While Kyle paced around the office, sweating through his overpriced button-up, people started whispering. Not about me, for me. Someone in contracts asked Marcus why we ever let me go. A woman in vendor relations said, wasn't Diane the one who designed the post-breach lockdown? And someone else, the CEO's assistant, apparently replied, yeah. And she warned us about putting finance in charge of IT. Guess we're feeling that now. The ship wasn't sinking. It was rotting from the inside. And the only one who had the pump, the map, and the damn compass was me, and I was drinking tea, watching it go down, quietly, precisely, just like I was trained to do, not with fire, with absence. At exactly 12:02 a.m., my inbox pinged. No Slack, no text, no voicemail this time. Just a subject line sitting in my inbox like a white flag dipped in desperation. Urgent assistance needed, audit system access sender, Charles D. Haverson, CEO, Omnicore Logistics. Now that was new. Charlie had never emailed me directly in 12 years. Not once. Not when I built the compliance archive from the bones of a failed ERP migration. Not when I single-handedly locked down our HIPAA protocols after the medical logistics acquisition. Hell, not even when I saved the company from a $2.5 million ransomware payout by isolating an infected node before it spread. But now that the roof was collapsing and Kyle was holding a wet pool noodle instead of a fire hose, suddenly I was worth a direct message. I clicked it open, slowly. Diane, we've hit a serious roadblock ahead of tomorrow's audit. I understand you're no longer with the company, but we need your help. No one here has the necessary access to retrieve the archive files. Your work was exceptional. We trusted your judgment. Now we're asking for your support to ensure Omnicore doesn't face serious consequences. Please let me know if you're willing to assist. We would, of course, compensate you appropriately. Regards, Charles Haverson, CEO. I read it while pouring hot water into my teacup. Chamomile. No caffeine. No adrenaline needed. Just a gentle herbal sip to wash down the taste of poetic justice. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, not because I wanted him to sweat, but because in that moment, it became very clear to me that this wasn't a rescue mission. They weren't calling for help. They were trying to unburn a bridge they torched with their own cigars, so I left it there. No reply, no bounce back, just silence. Let that echo around the boardroom for a bit, because while Charlie was busy composing that email, another conversation was happening upstairs. The board had convened an emergency call. Marcus forwarded me the bullet points from someone who couldn't resist live updating the chaos via group chat. Board Chair, Linda S. Kyle, can you explain why the person with exclusive access was removed without a knowledge transition? Kyle, we had no idea the system was designed this way, Linda. So you fired the person holding the keys. Kyle, I didn't know she was the keys. CFO, you're telling me the vault Diane built is inaccessible and you didn't even ask her for decryption instructions. Kyle, she wasn't collaborative. CTO from vacation, I signed off on that design. We gave her full autonomy after the breach. The vault doesn't have a fallback. Linda, we're 12 hours from non-compliance. You fired the one person who can save us. I imagined Kyle in that moment, red-faced, sweating through his undershirt, trying to piece together the house of cards he'd built out of buzzwords and bravado. Probably blaming IT, blaming legacy systems, blaming me, because when you're mediocre and cornered, blame is the last thing you know how to throw. The thing about systems like the one I built, they work perfectly until the people running them stop listening to the ones who understand them. So there I was, tea in hand, email unread, bored in freefall, all of them finally realizing that the one person they tried to erase had become the most critical missing piece, and I hadn't even stood up yet. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree on meth. 18 missed calls, blocked numbers, unknown IDs. One even tried urgent from legal like I'd be tricked into answering out of fear. Cute. I sipped my tea, flipped through the call log, and waited. The 19th call came through, blocked. Again, I let it ring once. Twice, then picked up, letting the silence do the talking. Diane, a voice I didn't recognize, composed, crisp, older, professional in that terrifying, high-powered lunch in a windowless room kind of way. This is Linda Sutherland, chairwoman of the board. I leaned back in my chair. She didn't fumble, didn't sugarcoat. We made a mistake, she said. It landed flat and cold, exactly how it should have. I didn't gloat, didn't sigh, just replied, yes, you did. There was a pause. I let her feel it, then calmly, I can unlock the system, but only under my terms. I want a formal consulting contract. 1-day engagement, 6 figures. She inhaled like she wasn't used to being told prices. I didn't stop. I want Kyle removed from all decision-making protocols effective immediately. No access to compliance systems. No override permissions. No revision authority. Another pause. I could practically hear the boardroom holding its breath on speaker. Done, she said, just like that. No negotiation, no questions, just quiet submission to the woman they'd tried to erase. At 6:47 a.m., I arrived at the office. Not my office, just the office. I wore jeans, a hoodie, and my oldest sneakers. No badge, no clipboard, no performance. Kyle was there, of course, standing in the hallway like a condemned man trying to look useful. His tie was crooked, his hands twitched like he didn't know where to put them. He didn't meet my eyes, didn't say a word. I walked past him. The elevator ride was silent. Marcus met me outside the vault room, trying hard not to smile. He looked like he hadn't slept in 48 hours. Good morning, I said softly. He just nodded. They're waiting inside. Inside was a scene: CEO, legal, risk, 2 board reps, and a third-party auditor who looked like she'd skipped coffee out of spite. No one spoke. I pulled the token from my coat pocket and inserted it into the reader. The light blinked. I placed my finger on the scanner. The screen flashed once. Then access granted, reports populated, logs decrypted, certs validated. A collective exhale swept the room like someone had opened a sealed tomb. I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I turned to the room and said, "You're good to go." No applause, no praise. Just stunned silence and the kind of awe usually reserved for surgeons and astronauts. As I walked out, Marcus caught up with me. His face was lit up like someone finally let him exhale. He handed me a mug, white ceramic, black letters, not needed for Q4. I stared at it for a second. Then I laughed, really laughed. It felt good. I thanked him. He grinned. Kyle stayed in the hallway, glued to the wall like he hoped I wouldn't notice him. I did, but I didn't stop. Didn't gloat. Didn't need to. Because revenge isn't screaming in someone's face. It's walking past them so calmly that they have to wonder for the rest of their lives what else you were capable of. I never raised my voice, only my value, and they'll never forget it again. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit 'em.